Hey, what is going on guys, Orhan here, and this is the HTC U Ultra. But instead of doing the normal review format like I always do, I'm gonna do something different with this phone because this phone is really one of the most surprising phones to come out this year. And I'm just gonna get right into it. The design of this phone is just a poor use of space. There's no headphone jack despite the huge footprint of this phone, and the only reason manufacturers are now beginning to remove the headphone jack is to save up on space on the inside of the phone. So if there's no headphone jack, the internals must be absolutely stacked, right? Nope. There's a 5.7-inch Quad HD display, which is good, most people would assume, but there's only a 3000 mAh battery, which leads to terrible battery life. I got something like 3 to 3.5 hours of screen on time at best. There's only 4 gigs of RAM, which is fine, but with all these compromises, I kind of expected more from HTC. And this phone also supports a Snapdragon 821, which is no slouch, but again, with a 3000 mAh battery, the battery life suffers a lot. The actual design of the phone is also too big for my personal preference, but again, it is my personal preference, so it may vary with you, but personally, it is far too large to handle comfortably. One thing that actually looks good with the design is the back. Even though it's a fingerprint magnet, it looks pretty good when you wipe out all the smudges. So far, most of the things I've said about the phone is pretty negative, but I do have to give credit where credit is due. The screen is pretty good and the overall performance is quite snappy. But again, all this is overshadowed when you consider the terrible battery life. There's a secondary display that is basically a rip-off of the display we saw on the LG V20, but it works in the same way. Other than that, most of the other things like the camera and speaker system provide the same experience, even though they are supposedly upgraded as well. But they deliver the same experience as we saw on the HTC 10 earlier last year. So overall, this phone is definitely a pass for me. The only people I see that would buy this phone are the hardcore HTC fans out there. Other than that, I would recommend almost everyone to skip out on this phone and waste your $750 on something else. And one interesting fact, when the phone came out, it retailed for about $750, but sales for this phone have been so bad that you can shop it for around $600. But again, I still wouldn't justify wasting $600 or maybe even $650 on a phone like this that has a lot of compromises. Honestly, you can't even justify the price tag on this phone when considering the experience that it delivers. And when you furthermore consider the fact that this phone lacks some of the small features like NFC, which is a must for any smartphone in this price range despite what region you live in. It's pretty safe to say that you should probably skip out on the HTC U Ultra for this year and look at what HTC comes up with next year. And yeah, that's about it for me in this video. Again, my name is Orhan and I'll see you guys in the next video.